Okay, let's talk about water. We often just, take it for granted. It falls from the sky, comes out of the tap. It's just there.
Hmm.
But if you really follow the rivers, trace water through history, you're basically following the path of human civilization itself. So today, we're doing a deep dive into all the different ways humanity has used water, shaped it, and honestly been shaped by it, from ancient river valleys right up to the sort of hidden water use in our modern digital world.
It really is a foundational story. And what's so fascinating, I think, is how deeply water is tied into, well, everything we do, often in ways we don't even consciously notice. Our relationship with water, it's not just about like H2O or geography.
Mhm.
It dictates where cities pop up, what food we can grow, how our cultures develop. It's it's the bedrock of society, really.
And it started simply, didn't it? Just
Yeah.
people gathering near water sources. Early settlements weren't random. They grew up around rivers, lakes, coasts, springs. So tell us about those first cradles of civilization. How did water define them?
Exactly right. I mean, think about Mesopotamia, right? Nestled there between the Tigris and Euphrates, they built these incredible irrigation systems that basically powered their agriculture, allowed cities to emerge. Or look at the Nile in Egypt. Its floods were so predictable, depositing that rich silt year after year. That stability allowed for huge growth, and, well, it shaped their whole worldview around that river's rhythm.
Yeah.
Then you've got the Indus Valley, showing really advanced urban planning for the time wells, drains, water storage, all built right into the cities. And China's Yellow River, too. I mean, yes, devastating floods sometimes, but also incredibly fertile soil that sustained dynasties for centuries. These rivers gave them food, water, trade routes, but you had to respect them.
Okay.
Floods, droughts, they demanded adaptation.
Okay, so they knew water was essential but dangerous too. But without germ theory, how did they figure out that some water could make them sick? What could they even do about it back then?
That's such a key question. They didn't know why, not in a scientific sense, but they absolutely knew from experience that, bad water caused illness. Stagnant water, especially, was clearly linked to sickness, probably because of insects and just visible contamination, long before we had words like pathogen. So water had this dual nature, right? Life giver, but also potential killer. And that awareness, it really shaped how they responded.
And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. They didn't just accept the danger, they built culture around managing it. So, like, bad water might be seen as a curse, maybe, or angry spirits involved.
Exactly. Spiritual interpretations were common. Contaminated water could be linked to curses, divine anger, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And this often mixed with practical steps. Boiling water, filtering it through cloth, adding certain herbs. These were partly spiritual purification rituals, sure, but they were also based on observation. They noticed it helped.
Makes sense.
You see it reflected in flood myths, too, like Noah or Gilgamesh. Water as this massive destructive cleansing force. And culturally, you often find rules against drinking from still ponds. People favored living water, flowing rivers, springs, seen as purer, safer. It was like their earliest public health intuition.
So, from just surviving near rivers, water then starts to fuel, like, major growth.
Yeah.
How did they start harnessing it beyond just basic needs, especially for farming?
Well, the leap to large-scale irrigation, that was a real game changer. Suddenly you could farm way beyond the reach of rainfall. That meant reliable food surpluses. More food means
More people, bigger settlements.
Exactly. Populations grow, cities can actually thrive. You see these incredible canals, aqueducts, those intricate rice paddies. They literally reshaped landscapes into managed water systems. Communities weren't just taking water anymore, they were actively controlling it for growth.
And it wasn't just farming, right?
Mm-mm.
Water became an engine for other kinds of progress, too.
Oh, absolutely. It powered early industry. Long before electricity, you had water wheels grinding grain, driving looms for textiles. It was crucial for processing things like metals, chemicals, and industry today, still a massive water user, often in ways we don't even see. Which brings us to that idea of virtual water.
Right, the hidden water.
Yeah, think about this. It takes something like 1,800 gallons of water to produce just 1 pound of beef. Every single product, the clothes you wear, the phone in your pocket, the food you eat at all, has this embedded water footprint from its production.
Wow.
So water is energy, right? From old water wheels to modern hydro dams. But it's also this silent ingredient woven through our entire economy. We're even looking at oceans, tides for future energy, water as fuel and force.
That concept of virtual water is staggering. Every purchase really is a water decision. Okay, let's shift to our homes, our cities. How did water shape public health and just our daily lives?
It totally revolutionized public health. Look at the Romans, those incredible aqueducts bringing fresh water into cities for public baths, fountains. That was huge. Even earlier, the Indus Valley civilizations had basic sewage systems. And then, modern plumbing, it completely transformed urban life, wiped out many waterborne diseases, at least in developed areas. But, and this is a big but, access is still wildly uneven across the globe.
Yeah, that contrast is pretty stark, isn't it?
Yeah.
An average American might use, 80, 100 gallons a day for everything drinking, cooking, washing? While millions elsewhere are surviving on just a few liters, it really drives home that clean water access isn't a luxury, it's a fundamental human right.
It absolutely is. But water also connected communities in less positive ways sometimes. Which brings us to this tricky dynamic, the whole upstream versus downstream thing.
Ah, right. Because rivers don't just connect people, they carry their stuff, their waste.
Precisely. If you lived upstream, you generally got cleaner water. But downstream, you were often drinking and washing in water that was already contaminated by waste, animals, maybe even bodies further upriver. Before modern sanitation, rivers were often the default sewer. It created this stark divide.
So water, this gift from the sky, becomes a source of conflict on the ground. Upstream means power, downstream means you're kind of stuck.
Totally. And that fueled tension, tribalism, even outright wars over water resources. You see Mesopotamian city-states fighting over canal access for crops. In Egypt, controlling the Nile's irrigation was basically controlling power. So yeah, water unified civilizations, but it could just as easily divide them when access wasn't fair.
It's fascinating how those real physical experiences, water giving life, taking life, connecting, dividing, got woven so deeply into culture and spirituality.
It's everywhere, isn't it? Think about religion. Water is central to baptism, Islamic ablution, Hindu rituals in the Ganges, the Jewish mikveh. Mythology is full of flood stories as rebirth, rivers like the Styx marking the boundary to the afterlife. And in storytelling, water constantly symbolizes cleansing, transformation, chaos, renewal. It reflects that deep, paradoxical relationship we have with it.
Okay, let's fast forward to today. Our relationship with water is, well, maybe even more complex now. What's the big picture for global water use right now?
Well, the big three are still dominant. Agriculture takes the lion's share, about 70% of freshwater withdrawals globally, essential for feeding everyone, obviously, but often inefficient lots lost to evaporation, leaky systems.
Okay, 70% agriculture. What's next?
Industry is around 20%. That's for cooling power plants, manufacturing processes, cleaning, and as an ingredient, like we talked about with virtual water. And then domestic use, drinking, bathing, sanitation, that accounts for the remaining 10% or so.
And beyond those basic needs, we use water in ways that maybe feel less essential, but add up.
Oh, definitely. Landscaping is a huge one, especially things like lush green lawns and golf courses and really dry places like, say, Las Vegas or Arizona. That takes enormous amounts of water just for aesthetics.
Right. Ornamental fountains, too?
Yeah, and leisure uses swimming pools, water parks, even making snow for ski resorts. And then, like you said, decorative fountains, artificial lakes. It all adds to the demand. But again, that massive hidden use is in the virtual water embedded in everything we consume. A pair of jeans, maybe 2,000 gallons, a hamburger, around 660 gallons. Even your smartphone required thousands of liters to make.
It's almost unbelievable. And this hidden thirst is now surging in a really surprising area, the digital world. You're talking about data centers, right?
Exactly. This is a relatively new but rapidly growing demand. These huge data centers, especially the ones powering use up to 5 million gallons of water per day.
5 million gallons a day.
It's comparable to the daily water use of a small town, maybe 10,000 to 50,000 people. It's massive. And globally, projections suggest data center water use could hit somewhere between 4 and 6.6 billion cubic meters by 2027. That's more water than some entire countries use in a year.
Wow. Why is so much water? I mean, it's just computers in a building, isn't it? What are they doing with it?
Cooling, mostly cooling. Those servers generate an immense amount of heat. Many data centers rely on what are called evaporative cooling towers, those big units that release mist. They use millions and millions of liters of water a year just for a moderately sized facility.
Right.
Plus, there's the indirect water use from the power plants generating the electricity they need. And what's really concerning is where many new data centers are being built. Since 2022, over 2/3 have gone up in places already facing water stress. Think Texas, Arizona, parts of the Middle East.
So you get local conflicts.
You do. Communities are starting to push back. There was a case in Chile, for instance, where public pressure led Google to agree to use air cooling instead of water cooling for a facility. We're talking potentially billions of gallons a year, just in the U.S., for this infrastructure that's largely invisible to most of us.
So how do we possibly balance this incredible technological progress, with these very real, very local impacts on a resource that's already stretched thin?
It's a critical challenge, no doubt. Now, to be clear, overall global residential water use is still much larger in total volume, maybe around 3.6% of humanity's total water footprint. But data centers represent this incredibly fast-growing and highly concentrated demand. Their global footprint is estimated around 560 billion liters a year now, and it could double by 2030, largely because of AI. So while total home use is bigger, dropping a massive data center into a water-scarce region, that puts immense strain on local supplies. The local context is just crucial here.
Are there solutions, innovations happening?
Yes, thankfully. There's a push towards low water cooling, like closed-loop liquid cooling systems that recycle water internally, cutting consumption way down. Using reclaimed wastewater instead of fresh drinking water is another big one. And you see major tech companies, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, making pledges to be water positive by 2030, meaning they aim to replenish more water than they consume. Though it's fair to question whether those replenishment projects always help the specific local areas where the data centers are located.
So we've gone from, people gathering by rivers thousands of years ago to needing billions of gallons to cool the clouds where our data lives. It's pretty clear we've always built our lives, our societies around water. We went from maybe seeing it as sacred to seeing it just as a resource, and now for many of us, it's almost invisible, just coming out of the tap. But every single use, ancient or modern, still relies on that same finite water cycle.
It really calls for a kind of mindset shift, doesn't it? To use water mindfully, it's almost like honoring its entire journey from the sky to the river, through us, back to the ocean, and on to the next generation. It's not about feeling guilty, it's about being aware. And that means practical things, sure. Efficiency at home, shorter showers, fixing leaks, low-flow toilets and taps.
Right.
It means thinking about our food choices, eating less meat, which is very water-intensive, maybe supporting local farms, choosing durable goods so we consume less overall. Even saving energy helps because power generation uses a lot of water for cooling, and exploring things like rainwater harvesting or gray water systems, reusing water from sinks and showers for things like watering plants.
So wrapping this all up, what's the main takeaway from this deep dive? What does our water use really tell us?
I think it tells us that water isn't just something we use, it's fundamentally something we share. Every single drop we interact with has been touched by someone, something before us, and it will be touched by others after us. So being mindful about water isn't just about turning off the tap faster. It's about remembering that connection, that this single drop links us to literally every other life on Earth. It's a shared inheritance, and our choices have ripples. We also have to remember its role in politics, in conflict, how access or lack of it affects women disproportionately in many places, and even its value for our mental well-being, that draw we have to blue spaces.
That's a really powerful way to put it. How we use water truly tells the story of who we are, our creativity, our struggles, our values, something for all of us to think about. What's your own water footprint? What are the unseen impacts of the choices you make every day on this incredibly precious shared resource?